On a serene Sunday evening, when the world seemed to hush, cloaking everything in a deceptive tranquility, the noise of the previous week faded into a gentle pause. Yet in that quiet, the realities I'd long evaded emerged sharply, undeniable and clear. The stillness peeled away my guards, leaving the burden of unvoiced remorse too heavy to shoulder. I hadn't planned to dismantle my marriage that night. My closest friend from university, Sarah, arrived unannounced, her keen intuition sensing my unspoken need for solace without me saying a word. We sank into the comforting familiarity of the living room couch, where a single lamp's soft glow cast delicate shadows across the walls. A partially consumed bottle of Merlot sat on the coffee table, its contents slowly dissolving the walls around my emotions. As far as I knew, Michael was upstairs, likely rummaging through boxes in the attic, lost in one of his perpetual unfinished tasks. He always had a talent for staying occupied, particularly in recent months when our exchanges had dwindled to tense, clipped remarks. We still performed the routines, meals cooked, bills paid, brief talks about groceries or chores, but the profound bond we once shared had worn thin, hanging by a fragile thread. The silence between us had crafted its own intricate dialect. That evening, I could no longer feign ignorance. "I just don't know, Sarah," I whispered, massaging my forehead as if I could ease the persistent throb behind my eyes. "Some days, I regret ever marrying him." The words escaped, and a sudden knot twisted in my gut, as though I'd released something raw and irreversible. The room's air grew denser, colder. Sarah's eyes widened, her forehead furrowing with worry. "You can't mean that," she replied, her tone swift and resolute, as if trying to retract my confession. But the truth was complex. I meant it in the weary, hollowed-out part of me that was utterly depleted. I loved Michael, or thought I did, but that love had transformed. It wasn't the vibrant spark of our early days, or the steady comfort we once knew. It had become a burden, an obligation I fulfilled out of habit rather than desire. Unbeknownst to me, Michael was on the staircase, shrouded in the hallway's shadows, hearing every word. I didn't notice him, didn't catch the creak of a step or a stifled breath. But later, I'd imagine his expression, halted mid-step, absorbing the admission of the woman he'd built a life with, spoken in confidence to another. The next morning, an unsettling void greeted me before I fully grasped it. The house felt unnaturally still. The coffee maker sat unused. Michael's keys were absent from their usual hook by the door. His shoes, always neatly aligned like guards, were gone. At first, I told myself he'd left early for work or perhaps dashed to the hardware store. But a growing dread took hold. He always kissed me goodbye, even on days we argued, especially then. By noon, my unease had spiraled into fear. I dialed his phone. It rang endlessly before switching to voicemail. I texted, but no response came. Sitting at the kitchen table, I stared at my laptop, willing some answer to appear. Then I saw it, an unread email, his name in the sender's field, the subject a single, chilling word: farewell. With trembling fingers, I opened it. "I overheard you last night. It wasn't intentional, but I did. You weren't loud, weren't angry. That was your truth, and it shattered me. I gave everything to us, kept showing up, and all this time, you've been silently resenting me. I won't stay where I'm merely tolerated. Don't look for me. The divorce papers are filed. I'm not angry. I just refuse to be someone's regret." Michael. I sat paralyzed, rereading his words, each one a piercing jab to my heart. His tone carried no malice, no desperation, just a calm, unwavering finality. I hurried to his workplace hoping to find him, but the receptionist said he'd quit that morning, cleared his desk, and left no hint of his destination. By afternoon, his phone was disconnected, his social media profiles deleted. It was as if Michael had deliberately erased himself from the life we'd built together. I contacted mutual friends, but no one had answers. His sister was evasive, saying only that Michael needed distance and wanted no contact. Then, as if timed perfectly, the divorce papers arrived, fully completed, his signature already in place. I wasn't consulted. I was informed, my role reduced to a formality: sign here. I waited for anger or denial to rise, but all I felt was a crushing mix of guilt and grief. Not just for losing Michael, but for letting our love wither. I recalled how he used to look at me, as if I were his greatest prize. The small gestures, the way he'd rub my back when I couldn't sleep, the notes he'd leave on the fridge with a sketch and a heart when he left early. He hadn't stopped trying. The cruelest irony was that I hadn't said those words to him. I spoke them about him, believing he wouldn't hear. That betrayal,